Voters in Lauren Boebert's previous district are celebrating the fact that she is no longer their problem. According to a new report in The Independent, many in her former constituency are just happy that she's leaving, so that maybe they can hopefully elect somebody who might be able to get something done, or at least be less of an embarrassment. In fact, The Independent talked to quite a few people in Boebert's district. One of them was a 66-year-old grandmother in the area who says that Boebert was always involved in drama. So that's pretty clear from what we know about the Boeberts. And that has not made her very popular. In fact, she said, quote, "She's not the most popular person anymore." I wonder why. I mean, definitely not popular among the theater crowd. No, or for anyone who enjoys an untainted pork slider. Just saying. Another 40-year-old unaffiliated voter said this: "There are people out there I know that are Trump supporters that don't support her. And they started out like, yeah, rah, rah, rah. And now they're just embarrassed because she just makes a fool out of herself." Imagine embarrassing a Trump supporter. Like being, just being such an embarrassment that even Trump supporters are like, no, oh God, oh please, stop, just don't. Lauren, please, just no. Now, there's more. When she comes to public places around here, it's just not professional. I've talked about that before. I've talked about how, and I've showed you video where she would go to schools and talk about political topics and also religious topics and stuff that she's not supposed to actually do, going to these schools, saying these things. And again, when she goes to the theater, definitely not professional, giving handies to her, date. And just, again, super, super unprofessional, pretty trashy. Okay. Now, they continued that she causes all this ruckus for no reason and doesn't actually do anything in her position. I can't think of anything that she's actually done. Well, you would be right, because she's done nothing. She's an absolute embarrassment. And that has even started to scare away hardline conservative Christian voters. I mean, her complete and utter hypocrisy, especially on what happened during the theater performance, not just the groping, but also the vaping, blowing smoke in the face of a pregnant woman, refusing to tone it down. She was snapping pictures and just being all sorts of disruptive, even though people were politely asking her, please stop, we're just trying to enjoy the performance here. Wasn't interested. Totally rude person. And when she was being escorted out, she pulled the, "Do you know who I am? Yes, we know who you are, Lauren, and we don't care. In fact, that's kind of why we're having to kick you out, because of who you are." Okay, so now the hypocrisy here. Let's go to Republican State Representative Matt Soper, who talked to The Independent. Here's what he said about her and her hypocrisy. "She embraced a very religious conservative perspective, but then her Beetlejuice night basically made her appear to be very hypocritical. And that's where a lot of people began really, really questioning not just her judgment, but who she really was. And as a politician, the last thing you want to be questioned on is who you are." Now you think that, it'd be over, but some people hung on to Lauren. I know. And that, of course, is until she decided to bail. Now, Soper said that while the Beetlejuice incident deeply rattled base, CD3 Republicans tend to be a forgiving lot, and we do see this on the right wing, that people, they just go, "Oh, I've come to Jesus and he has forgiven my sins." And really, I think that is taking advantage of a lot of people's forgiving nature, right? And on the left, we tend to be not quite as forgiving, let's be fair. Although, I think there's good reason here. On the left, instead of just saying, like, you can't just go and be like, "Oh, it's okay, guys, I got right with Jesus," right? No, you have to do something. You have to do some actual restorative justice to be reaccepted on the left. And even then, sometimes you're still going to have things held against you. And that's just, as somebody that's on the left who sees this happen, it's one of the things that unfortunately goes along with being on the left. On the right wing, I think they're a little too eager to forgive. And I get that that's part of especially the Christian conservative part, which is, oh, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. Okay, but it's obvious that this can be abused by bad actors. And there's a lot of bad actors on the right. Okay. So now, members of her district, once she made the announcement to leave that old district, that's what shattered any goodwill that was left among her previous voters. Quote, they were so offended by the fact that she basically just bailed from the ship, said Soper. She abandoned her duties. When the going got tough, she just left. And she behaved like a carpetbagger, moving from one district to another. And I will tell you, on the Western Slope, that is one thing that's not tolerated. Honestly, I can't think of a place where carpetbagging is ever tolerated. Okay. Now he adds, I have yet to run into any Republican who's like, yeah, she did it for the good of the party. Total BS excuse. She's going to allow us to retain the third, and if we're lucky, we'll get her elected to the fourth. Another Republican, a CD3 campaign operative, echoes Soper almost word for word, saying, I have not heard a single person who said she's done it for the good of the party. I have not heard that from the furthest right conspiracy theory crazy MAGA person to the furthest left crazy left-wing person. Nobody believes that's why she did it. It's kind of funny, just a side note here, that the guy can't even come up with an example of what to call a crazy left-wing person or group. It's because it doesn't exist. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, oh, do you mean the people who want everyone to have health care? Oh, it's a bunch of crazies. Human rights for everybody? Ooh, nuts. Housing for all? Oh, now you're just going way, way overboard, okay?
Can't let that happen. Pink-haired communist.
But anyway, I read into things too much sometimes. That's just what I do. But he is right, though. Nobody's buying Lauren Boebert's excuse for turning tail and running away, fleeing the sinking ship. And funny enough, it might actually end up hurting the Republican in her district or her old district. Now, that unaffiliated grandmother, for example, that they talked to, says many within the constituency no longer know who's running for Congress and that they feel indifferent and might not even vote. Here's her quote. I just think that everyone lives in a normal world. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? Just feels like we've been abandoned. What difference does it make? Either you get one who gets in and doesn't do anything at all, or you get one that throws enough tantrums that that's all you see. She's right. I mean, grandma makes a lot of sense, okay? Now, there's another unaffiliated voter, retired engineer Kurt Urban, who's been sliding to the left, great, after voting for both parties in the past. Here's what he said. Everybody, I think, is kind of tired of all the shenanigans of the Republican Party. Yeah. So they'll vote for a moderate Democrat to go in there. Okay. Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on now. Okay. What the Democrat is actually hoping for here. If you ask people, he says, in my mind, what the number one concern is, or what I hear, that remains how expensive everything costs. So that's the inflation, greedflation. And look, even though inflation is technically down, right, you still have companies that are gouging people on everyday items. Again, prices of groceries haven't went down all that significantly, if at all, that I've noticed. And so that is a big issue here that no one in Congress really wants to talk about. Well, I mean, they want to campaign on it and just blame the other side, but in reality, it's corporations, it's companies that are taking advantage of the whole idea of, oh, inflation, our costs have gone up, so now we've got to pass it down to you. When in reality, they're just taking nice profit margins off the top after jacking up the price for all of us. There's more. He also says, I think a lot of people in D.C. from both parties have missed what the daily struggles are. Access to healthcare, mental and physical. We have some of the most remote counties in the country and some of the least well-off counties in the country. And a lot of people are one doctor leaving away from going a 45-minute drive to a 3-hour drive just to get health care. These are the conversations I'm hearing in the back roads of CD3. Curtis, you bring up a lot of fantastic points, okay? 100%. Voters want candidates who are going to try to solve issues instead of make them. Lauren Boebert, however, and this is what the voters have figured out, is all about creating issues. See, Boebert doesn't want to be part of the problem. She wants to be the whole problem. And that is one her old district is more than happy to be finally rid of.